Cohabitation or relationship. A cohabitating couple is a couple that lives together in an intimate and committed relationship who are not married to each other and not in a civil partnership entering into cohabitation. Sometimes it's as beneficial for happiness as entering marriage, but that entering marriage is slightly more satisfying than merely living together, but only among people who had never been married. Risks associated with having a higher number of cohabiting partners include having a more difficult romantic or family life, more strained economic circumstances, and higher odds of having children with different partners, all of which can increase your odds of divorce. The disadvantages of cohabitation are lack of legal protection. One of the biggest disadvantages of cohabitation is the lack of protection for unmarried couples, financial dispute. While cohabiting can save money, it can also lead to financial dispute. Emotional challenges. What are the problems with cohabiting couples? In any cohabiting relationship, it's crucial that you and your partner learn to listen and take on board constructive criticism. Living together sounds easy, but it can be challenging, especially on the long run. So good communication must be practiced in order to lessen the stress. Overall, living together before marriage can provide couples with valuable insight into their relationship, help them build a stronger bond, and improve their chances of having a successful long-term commitment. How do you deal with cohabitation? First, embrace collaboration. Take advice from friends or family with a grain of salt. Take time to reflect and prepare. Some serious things to consider in cohabitation is to choose your battles wisely. I'm going to be unveiling our guest for today, of course, and we have Reverend Dr. Mike Oluni, is a marriage counselor, an author, and a minister. It's good to have you, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
You look so good today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And I must say, yes, behind the camera, before we started the show, Dr. Mike actually gave me 3 of his amazing books. And just looking at it from the topic alone, I can't wait to actually start reading, which is very amazing. How do you cope having to be, obviously, a doctor, still be a reverend, you know, still coach a lot of married and of course people in relationship, and at the same time still be able to come for programs, live programs, because Doctor is coming all the way from Ijebu-Ode. If you don't know, he came here to actually grace our program, which is very interesting. So how do you manage all of this together?
You know, it's a question of knowing how to prioritize, the things that you have to do. As a minister of God, you have to put God first, okay, ministry first. So when you're talking about marriage, counseling is one of the most important things, as a minister of God. There's an assignment that God gives you. So my own is in the area of marriage and leadership. So it comes first before any other thing. After taking God, then your family, then it's ministry.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, we're talking about cohabitation, and if I could remember well, when I called you, you were like, cohabitation. Oh, this is very interesting. You were so interested in the topic because it's like you've actually witnessed a lot of people that are actually cohabitating even before marriage. Which drives me to the very first question, is that why do people think why do you think people choose to live together instead of continuing to date, just keep dating, or just get married? Why do you think people just keep living together, cohabitating?
Well, you know, when you were introducing this topic the other time, you said it was very popular in the Western countries. Then it's now creeping in. Yeah. In fact, it has. But you see, when you look at it properly, now you see some of the problems that make cohabitation to start getting popular is that a lot of people are playing less emphasis on spiritual matters. Are you getting the point now? For instance, if you see a solid Christian, you won't think about cohabiting with someone. Then you see, when you look at our values in this society, you look at whether you're looking at it from maybe Yoruba or Hausa, or when you look at our culture, it doesn't encourage cohabitation. So when we play, less emphasis on culture, it also makes us to be, not to see anything anything bad in it.
Yeah.
Then you also talk about, people are now seeing marriage more as a social contract. Are you getting the point now? We are not looking at it, okay, this is a divine arrangement. When God created man, he said it's not good for him to be alone. Let me bring in someone who can be. So we're not looking at it from that point of view. Just looking at it as a social contract. We just come together, and if it is working, we allow it to work. If it is not working, then we, low self-esteem.
So low self-esteem can actually
make someone, because now you see, when as a lady you look less on yourself. You don't look at yourself as you don't look at yourself as more than that. So when a man proposes to you, you feel that something special has happened, that he has done you a lot of good. So anything he suggests to you, you just take it that way. So I think so. Low self-esteem is there. Then another thing is, when you go into premarital sexual relationship, it beclouds your judgment. If you're already into premarital relationship, you're already so connected to that person emotionally, that when you see anything that appears to to threaten that relationship, whatever he says, you go along with it. So it's one of the things when you go into a premarital relationship. Another thing is the fear of losing a partner. He says, if you cannot come and live with me, that means this relationship cannot work.
Yes. So, and you're scared. You just have to stay.
You're scared. You understand now? So although it is wrong, but because you don't want to lose the person, you agree with the person.
Yes.
Now, another one is avoidance of responsibilities. And in the case of a man, how do I raise money, to go and do all these wedding? Apart from that, people will now be holding me responsible in this family. When you get married, normally you are connected with the two families are connected with one another, and it's like a responsibility that you are taking on. And many of our young men, they want to run away from responsibility. And desperation to go into a relationship, is that when a lady is getting to 30, you understand now, she starts having the fear that if I don't get married now, I mean,
might get old and not attractive anymore.
These are some of the problems that cause. We can still go. We can actually still go.
Please go on, because it's a big deal.
Now, you see, another one is deception. Deception.
In what form?
There are situations where there are men that are experts at talking to ladies. Are you getting the point now? What they cannot do in the next 10 years, they will say it's going to happen tomorrow morning. So a lady gets carried away. Are you getting the point now? And so whatever he says,
you go with
it. And at the end of the day, this issue of cohabitation, by the time the problem comes, it affects the lady more than the man. It affects the lady more than the man. So before you know what is happening, you have run into that problem, and to get out of it, it's difficult. It's difficult. Even when you know that this is not a good thing that I'm doing, you have to okay, what will people say?
When you leave, yes.
What will people say? Will I now say I am no longer married? Whereas in the first place you are not even married. You are not even married. You are only deceiving yourself.
Yes.
You are not married. And by the time you look at all these factors, you realize that many go into it because of let me give you another reason why people go into it. Sometimes you pity the man when he says there is no money to have the proper marriage. It is not there is no money, and you pity the man. And get it, you start staying with him, and you have forgotten that when you are talking about marriage, it can only be as expensive as you want it to be. You understand now? You can have your marriage in a very simple way that will not cost much money. So instead of you agreeing with him that, look, because of money, let's be staying together and all that, why don't you sit down and plan how you can scale down the wedding plan? There are people that are going to wed and they will travel overseas to go and get the wedding gown and all that. But there are people that we even use one of the one of the gowns. Nobody will arrest you for it. You understand? It's all about your life. You know what is involved in marriage is more than how expensive the wedding is and all that. So you can actually minimize the cost of your wedding. And then another thing is, the fear of divorce. Sometimes people look at it. Maybe they have seen someone that that got divorced before, and they have that fear that, okay, if it doesn't work, and we now divorce later, so let me just go into this one quietly.
It's better.
So it's one of the, and there are other people too that have seen bad marriages.
So it changes their ideas.
It changes their ideas. You see, this person's marriage failed, that person's marriage failed. The fact that marriage failed does not mean that
yours is going to fail.
You understand? There are a lot of things that you don't just look at because somebody had a problem that you also you're going to have the problem. You can't say because a particular man, maybe the husband of someone, is not did not get it right, that your own husband is also not going to get it right. You understand now? Your own home is unique.
It's different.
It's different. You don't have to compare with anybody. So these are some of the reasons why people live together without.
Wow. So now living together, that's cohabitation. What effect does it cause? What effect does it have in relationship leading to marriage? Now I'm cohabiting. Let's assume I'm cohabiting with my partner or living together. Then of course, while cohabiting, we have this idea of, I am going to settle down with him eventually. We're going to get married, but I'm staying with him for the meantime due to whatever reasons I have in my head or whatever reasons he has in his head. But the thing is, while we are still cohabiting, we're planning to get married. Do you think there is any effect to that cohabitation in the relationship leading to marriage? Do you think there's any issue that could come up?
Now, when we were introducing this matter the other time, we said one of the reasons why people go into it is that our religious values is dropping. I mean, somehow the way we look at religion. Now, if you see a lady or a man that is serious with God, you understand now? They won't say they are going to cohabit. Now, if you come together, you're going to realize that you see, when you come together, there are problems that occur in cohabitation that affect the future of that marriage. That affect the future of that marriage, because when you get married legally, there are actually three areas that we may look at in the issue of marriage. You look at the social aspect of it, you look at the religious aspect of it, and you look at the legal aspect of it. You understand now? When you are cohabiting with someone, you are not married. Are you getting the point now? There is that tendency for that person to treat you anyhow, because there is nothing, under law, there is nothing to really hold on to. Are you getting the point? So it is one of the major problems with it is this issue of the security is not there, especially for a lady. It's not just there. You understand now? And for a man, if you are a responsible man, you understand now, and you understand what marriage is all about, I mean, you will want to, really do it the proper way that it should be done. You do it the proper way that it should be done. Now, you may see people that are cohabiting, and okay, maybe the marriage, maybe they get married later, and so we have seen many of them. There are people that they will cohabit, and then maybe after so many years, sometimes their children are even grown up. They now, but you discover that many of them, they did the social aspect of it. They got to know the parents of the person. You understand now? They do it. They did the traditional one. Then continue. Later on, they will now come and do the white wedding.
Okay.
And you get it. Even in that case, you are going to discover that there is a level of security for the lady, because the parents and the people of the lady, they know the other parent. It's a form of security somehow. When you marry, when the social aspect of it is covered, you're going to discover that there may be somebody in the family of the lady that the man will respect so much that when he wants to misbehave, that one calls him and he will sit up. Are you getting the point? So, but when all these things are not there, especially for a lady, you understand now, there are problems that come up in the future. What of if the man, you are there, you have been cohabiting, you have got children, the man becomes successful in life somehow, because the way a man behaves when he's still struggling is different from the way when he's rich. There are some things he will start seeing when he's rich. I call it the battle of ease. When things become easy for you as a man, will you remain faithful to that woman? You struggle together. There are situations where you just start living together. The woman may even be better off financially. You start living together. He sponsors you to the university and all that. But then you become comfortable. You now look at her. What am I doing with this? Are you getting the point? After it, he may now go and marry another person legally.
Wow. Ooh.
Are you getting the point? And you are thrown out into the, so especially for a lady, you have to know that there is no security in it. In cohabitation. Anything can happen. Yes, there are people that will say they did it and they were successful. When you look at it, the success rate
is very low.
Is very low. Is very low. So when you look at it from the from all angles and make up your mind, it is. When a lady, for instance, when you are thinking about that, okay, maybe I'm now 30 years old or I'm above 30, do you know that if you are looking for the definition of hell, you find it in a bad marriage?
Oh yes, I can. Although I'm not married, but yes, I can agree.
you see, because if you are not yet married, you understand now, it is better than going into bad marriage. It is better than going into bad marriage, because by the time it happens, you understand now, you will regret whatever you have done about that. So we should, as a lady, we must be, especially as a lady. As a man, I will just say that there's nothing honorable in it. There's nothing honorable in it that you want to marry. You cannot go and you don't have in-laws. You don't have in-laws, and you're an African. You don't have in-laws. You understand now? And your people don't know the people of the person you marry. I think there's no honor for it. But especially for a lady, you have to be very, very careful. Whatsoever a man tells you, as I said earlier, whatsoever a man tells you, you understand now? I'm not saying all men are liars, but when a man is looking for a lady, he can manufacture sweet words. You understand? To convince that lady, he can manufacture anything that will carry the lady off her feet without knowing. You enter into what you are not supposed to enter. So, as a lady, essentially, when you don't get yourself involved sexually, you can still control your emotions to a level. But once you get yourself involved sexually and all those things, it becomes a big deal for you to even want to think well. Yes. Yes, now, if you are a Christian, for instance, and your pastor has trained you, okay, when you are going to, pray about the person you want to marry. I'm telling you, if you have got yourself involved sexually, when you pray, it is that person you will see. It is that person you will be seeing, because
your emotions, even your dreams, your aspiration.
Yes, it's already. So we really have to be very careful. Now, we have talked about lack of commitment as a problem. Essentially, the man knows that he's not committed to you in any way. There is no pastor that is going to call him to order. There is no law that is saying, okay, you must not do this to this lady. For instance, if a man marries legally now, he will be afraid that if I go and marry another person, the law says maybe it's 2 years jail or something like that. But if he has not married you,
there's no law supporting him.
He can do anything, and there's nobody that will query him for it. You understand that? And the other wife that he has married now, she will be the legal wife. Then another thing is, as a lady, look at it this way. It's like you cheapen yourself cohabiting with a man. Okay, what's special in you again?
Why?
He has demystified you. You understand now? And many men, by the time it has happened that way, when if you are still talking about going into marriage, it is the man that will be saying, okay, we have to do this, we have to do that. Then you discover that by the time you have got children for him, and you are now longing that, but I'm not married. You will be the one that will be begging.
Of course.
You will be the one that will be begging.
Pushing for it.
You will be pushing for it, and you can tell you that I don't have time for that. The money I have is not for me to go and waste on one. Let me take care of these children. Even when he has other things that he's spending on.
I want to ask: is there a period when couples are actually allowed to cohabitate? Is there any period? Maybe is it after dating, while they are courting, days before the marriage, or whatever? Is there any period a couple should actually cohabitate, either for a short time or for a long time, before they actually settle down?
You see, there is no time that you are allowed, from the religious point of view. You understand now? Now, for instance, the scripture says that you should flee fornication. When you get involved with a man or a woman sexually before marriage, that is fornication. And the scripture says flee fornication. Is there a way you can cohabit without sexually getting involved? So you discover that until your wedding night, it is not allowed. It is not allowed. You understand?
Well, a lot of people believe it has caused a lot of problems because they don't actually know how to manage the man based on character traits or whatever. Like, yes, no, because, let's take it from the angle, because I've had a lot of discussion with our Gen Zs, and they'll be like, fine, you are just saying sex, but have we realized that that is not even the bone of contention? It's not even the main issue when it comes to marriage. It's even in fact, when you enter the marriage, you'll not even really feel like doing it most of the time because you're preoccupied with a lot of things. And now say, why are they putting so much attention on the sex before marriage, whereas they are supposed to put attention on knowing who the man is, managing his character traits, knowing how to handle him better, knowing probably when to walk away, when to sit down, his best color, what will entice him, what will make him stay home, what will make him, respect you or value you aside from the normal value. Why is it that there's a lot of focus on that part of sex and not on the other part? I'm saying this based on Gen Z, because when you take it to them, they'll be like, please, I'm not interested, because that one is just like 1% of what I need to focus on. I need to stay with him. Let me know how he behaves. If he's someone that talks irrational, someone that disrespects, doesn't value me, even though we click. And I am also from a different background. He's from a different background. So there are things I need to understand from me, and there are things you need to understand. So what advice will you give to them at this point?
May I tell you something? When you get married, you don't finish learning about one another until the end of your lives. I've been married for almost 40 years. There are some things my wife will still do at times that I will be wondering whether he's the one that did it. You keep learning about one another. Are you getting the point now? When you are cutting, you without cohabiting, you still learn. You still learn from. You only need to be observant. You only need to be observant. If you are observant, the character traits that you want to study, so it will show. You understand now? Even when you are discussing with someone on phone, you know now, there are some things you will know if you are observant. The way he raises his voice and all that, it may be a key into some of these things that you're talking about. You understand now? We should not say, okay, sex is a major issue in marriage. Once something goes wrong with your sex life in marriage, everything might have gone wrong. That is the truth. You understand now? A man that is sexually starved at home can do something that you will never be able to connect with what he is doing. He can a child that offended him at home, that is supposed to give maybe two strokes of the cane, he may give him 12 lashes. Because he sexually
that is point of aggression on another person.
You see, he will transfer it to another person.
Or maybe the wife will come and meet him, honey, what will you eat? I'm not eating anything.
I will just be wondering. The question I ask is what you're going to
get. Yes.
You see, the issue of sex is very, very important. You cannot. The people that say, okay, it's not really about sex, I want to study him, you will study him. But one of the things, he's going to be sincere with you, one of the things that goes on in that study is this issue of sex. And the truth is that once you get involved, your emotions are involved.
Yes.
To judge objectively becomes a problem. In fact, it even becomes difficult to study someone when you are already into sexual this thing. You are enjoying one another, your emotions are,
clouding your judgment.
Be clouding your judgment. So even when you notice some some flashpoint, you say,
it's cool, I can handle it.
I can handle it. But if you have not been involved, you say, you may still go out together, you talk on phone, you find a way of interacting with one another. So you don't need to go and live with him to study him.
Okay.
You don't need to go and live with him.
This is very interesting. I like this angle. So the Gen Z is where you are always talking about, no, we have to know if it's this, if it's that. Like Reverend Doctor just said, it's something that you can always know from his interaction with people and even from you. Basically with people, not even you, because you are the person he's trying to, bring in, accommodate and truly love. The other person, he has no emotional attachment. So it's from them that you can actually know if it's treating you right. Okay, my question is, does cohabitation actually has it caused a high rate of divorce, or do you believe it's part of the things that are causing a high rate of divorce in the country right now?
I think it's one of the factors that are causing, that is responsible for high rate of divorce. When you are married, before you think of separation or divorce, there are a lot of things, a lot of factors you take into consideration. You may even think about, what will I tell my in-laws? There are things that happen that, people come in, they talk to you, and you forget about it. There are a lot of times that some things will happen, and because you don't want to offend some people. For instance, let's take let's assume you are attending a church. Maybe you are a worker in a church. You understand now? When your pastor talks to you, there's no woman that is perfect, no man that is perfect. We keep learning about one another. Are you getting the point now? When you before we get married, it is love. Okay, I love you, but by the time you get to marry, you discover that it's more of commitment. I am into this. We must make it work. When you see any marriage that has been on for a decade or two or more, it is because they are committed to it. It is because they are ready to forgive one another when offenses come. It is about considering some other things. Maybe the children have come in and all those things. You consider a lot of factors. You understand now, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to think of divorce. But when you are just cohabiting, you can just leave her. Are you getting it? And nothing happens. You understand? Now? So I think cohabitation is is contributing to the rate of the divorce.
In Nigeria.
Yes.
Oh, wow, so sad. Okay, is there any negative effect of cohabitation on our children?
Yes. Because the first thing is, when you are just cohabiting, you are not serving as a good role model to your children. You're not serving as a good role model. You know, a lot of times our children, what they are going to be in the future, they are learning it from mommy and daddy at home. You understand now? You know that there is no commitment. They also have a feeling that after all, my dad, my mom is like this. Are you getting the point now? So we are not being good examples to our children. You that did not you don't have in-laws. So are you expecting people to come and take you as an in-law in the future? So we are not serving as good examples to our children. We have to think of that too. You know, we have to think about being good role models to our children. So when you are cohabiting, you're not giving them something they can learn from. You're not giving them something. You see, so it is not good for the children.
For the children.
Yes.
So that means invariably, it's like you're trying to say that when people cohabit, it leads to where you have this thing where they call single dad, and single mom, where they probably at the end of the day they don't get married, they have to take care of the children themselves and all of that, which, you know, a lot of people believes it actually affects the children. You feel very strong to take it in, but it later on affects the children a whole lot, except if that children has, I don't know, a lot of body to stomach, or to take all of that. What's your take on this part of single daddy and single mom?
You see, the issue of single mom and single dad, just as we have said, they are not good for the children. They are not good for the children to see as models, because some of them will just get you that after all, mommy was living alone, or dad sent mommy out and was just bringing different ladies. So they may not see anything wrong with it. But even when you are together, you understand that when you are together, you have not really, the children, the example that you have given the children is not even good enough to, because they know that there is no commitment.
Commitment between the both of you.
There is no commitment. So even when you are living together, that commitment that is not there is not good for the children. The children should be able to know that when you get married, you should do it properly. You do it properly. You know your in-laws. Whatever you need to do, you do. As we said earlier, we should not become afraid and say, how do I do this? And your wedding can be as simple as possible. You don't need to. It was during COVID that we realized that you can even have a wedding without. You can do Zoom wedding. What stops you from doing Zoom wedding?
I've attended a Zoom naming ceremony.
I mean, yes. Now, what stops you? What stops you from? Okay, you don't want to go and get a big hall and all that. After your wedding, you pack whatever you're going to give. You give it to your guests as takeaway. Even if you finish the service and you don't give them anything, nobody will come and arrest you for it.
Oh yes, it's your wedding.
But it's your wedding. You understand? So we don't want to be afraid. Maybe it's finance, because a lot of men will say it's the issue of finance. No.
A lot of men will say that. Hey, hall now is like 2 point something. So if I want to have a wedding, you see some of them calculate. If I want to have a wedding now, I should have like 10 million. I'll be like, what? So that's a whole lot.
As a lady, you don't have to accept that from a man. You don't need a hall for your marriage to be successful. You just need to have the blessing at the church. You need to know your in-laws. Whatever needs to be done there, you do it. You go to church for Thanksgiving, and all those issues of having big weddings and all, because you have money. So if you don't have it, then be frank with one another.
Okay.
Be frank with one another. Do what is within your budget. It is the success of that home that matters.
Amazing.
It is the success of that home that matters.
Ooh, at this point, we'll drop the curtain. Let me end it with what Reverend Doctor actually said. They said it is the success of your marriage that matters, not how big your wedding is or not how small your wedding is. and it's not about cohabitating in the name of trying to know your partner or trying to limit the cost or trying to feel like, hey, if I don't marry now, who's going to marry me? It's not about that. Okay, anyways, this is where we wrap up the section. I'm going to say thank you so much, Reverend Dr.
You're welcome.
Mike Idoni, for joining us.